Welcome to Bike Life, a podcast from the Warmshowers Foundation. Here, we celebrate our global community of touring cyclists and hosts who make life on the road unforgettable. Through stories, insights, and shared experiences, we explore the connections that fuel every journey. Whether you're pedaling across countries or welcoming travelers into your home, you're part of a movement rooted in generosity and adventure. Discover more and join the community at Warmshowers.org. Now, let's hit the road together. Hey everyone, this is Jerry Kopech, the host of Bike Life, coming to you from the Rocky Mountains of Breckenridge, Colorado. If you ever wonder what goes into planning and riding your very first long-distance bike tour, well, today's guest knows firsthand. Tyler Epstein is a teacher, a coach, and a former college athlete who decided to pedal from his home in Missouri all the way to the Oregon coast. On his first cross-country trip, Tyler discovered not only the challenges of the road, but also the joy, connection, and the stories that come from crossing the U.S. by bike. Tyler, welcome to Bike Life.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jerry.
So I want to talk about your background. What sport did you play, and what do you coach?
Well, in high school, I played football, I wrestled, and I ran track. And then I was a college athlete. I played football in college. And now I am a high school teacher at Belton High School. This is my 13th year teaching at Belton. And this will be my 14th year coaching football and my 14th year coaching wrestling. And I'm actually going back to coach track this year. So I'm a high school teacher and coach, and I am really busy, but I like being busy. When I'm not teaching and coaching, I'm usually riding my bike.
Dang, man. You're a machine. You must live on a schedule. Like, when do you sleep?
Well, you got to definitely be organized. So for me to get my rides in, I've kind of got to, work around my schedule. So I don't spend a lot of time watching TV. Like when I'm home, I'll have a little bit of downtime every night, but I try to get to bed about 9:30 to 10 at the latest, because I get up really early, during the week. I had a buddy say once, the morning time is free time.
So do you know Ray Lewis, right? The former linebacker, professional linebacker?
Yes, I was a middle linebacker myself. Big Ray Lewis fan. I've got a picture of Ray Lewis in my basement.
I bring it up because he's a big cycling advocate as well, right?
Yes, he is.
Have you followed any of his stories?
I follow all of his social media. I see his rides on Garmin, he'll post little kind of motivational things after he does a big ride on Instagram.
Yeah.
I follow him.
How much do you think your athletic background, your training has helped you for this trip? Like with either mental toughness or grit?
I mean, a lot of my parents, what they instilled in me, I think it all really comes from my parents. My mom and dad were very, very tough people. Two of the toughest people I know. And I get that toughness, both physical and mental toughness from them. But I would say wrestling more than anything. I was a wrestler in high school. I coach wrestling now. Wrestling is a tough sport. And I would say I would attribute a lot of my ability to do hard things to being a wrestler.
So how'd you get into cycling? Because that seems a bit different than
very much so. I mean, being a 255-pound middle linebacker to I was about 255 my last year of college. So I got into it. I had an acquaintance. I didn't know the guy real well, but I met this guy at a bar one time. I was probably about 21 years old, and he was getting ready to graduate from college, and he was going to go on this cross-country bike trip, and he was telling me all about it, and the bike and the panniers and the rack and everything he had for the bike. And I thought that sounded like the coolest thing ever. So I never really thought about cycling for exercise or racing, triathlon, or doing all that stuff. I just wanted to ride my bike across the country. So after college, I bought a cheap bike on Craigslist. It was actually a cyclocross bike that was a size too big. But then I got a job, and I got busy, and I got into triathlon. Then I got into gravel, and now I got to the point where I was riding between 9,000 and 10,000 miles a year. But the whole reason I got into cycling was to do a cross country trip, and so that's kind of how I got into it.
So then, why this trip and why now?
Well, I coached football for 13 years, And I finally gave up football after last year. And I said, I'm going to finally do this trip. I always wanted to go from Missouri to Oregon on the Transamerica Trail. That was always the plan. And so I finally had time to do it with not having summer activities with football. And so I finally did the trip. And now I'm back to coaching football, but I didn't coach this summer. They needed another person to coach. So they kind of got me back in just a few weeks ago.
How much time did you allot for this?
I wanted to do it in under a month.
Okay. Did you make it?
I did. I did it in 26 days.
Okay. So for people who don't know that route, how many miles is it?
It is roughly 2,700 miles from where I started. I started on the Missouri Kansas border, about 5 miles from Pittsburgh, Kansas. I picked up on the route in Girard, Kansas, and I went from Girard to Astoria. I did have a little bit of a wheel issue, which cost me about 40 or 40 miles. So I lost some mileage there. So I ended up doing 2,664 total miles in 26 days.
So pretty easy math. That's 100 miles a day, right?
Yep. And I took 2 rest days. And then I had a few days where one day I only did 44 miles and another day I did 59 miles.
Only
So
44.
besides that, I was doing, most days were 120 to 197. I was, I had to 140-mile days.
197. Those are big days.
Yeah. Yeah. I was the fourth day, I think it was. I went from the middle of Kansas, Great Bend, Kansas, all the way through to the Colorado border. It was 196 miles, and then I went the second to last day. I did 197 miles there in Oregon towards the end.
Did you feel like you just needed to push through because you're running out of time, or you just kind of got
So
into a groove?
my girlfriend Kim
Yeah.
was flying into Portland on Monday, and I hit bad weather 2 days before she was supposed to come in. I was supposed to climb near Sisters, Oregon, McKenzie
Yeah.
Pass. There was wind and snow. I had a really, really tough day. There was a day in Oregon where I had 25 to 30 mile an hour wind gust. I hit sleet, I hit snow, I hit rain on the top of one of the mountain passes. When I came down into the town, I was pretty much freezing cold. That night, I got through that day. It was a long day, and then that storm was still coming. So when I was about 40 miles from Sisters, I don't remember what town I was in, but there was a bad storm moving in with snow and sleet. So I actually had to get a warm showers host in Sisters, Oregon, and kind of hunker down for the day. And
Okay.
I knew if I did that, I would need to have 2 really big days the following 2 days. So I would basically need to go from Sisters to where was I? I went from Sisters to Grand Ronde, Oregon, in one day, which was like 197 miles. And then that was just so I could have my last day be like 130 miles from Grand Ronde to Astoria. So I had to have 2 really big days to get to Astoria by Monday evening to see Kim because she was coming in.
Did you, was that stressful to you?
Um, I was up for the challenge. So at that point, it was kind of all business. I was
Okay.
ready to close the trip out. I've been doing big days. And
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I mentally, I just kind of checked out of everything else. And I said, it's time to go. I like to call it serial killer mode. You basically just forget about everything. Like, I mean, you don't think about it. You just got to go. You just got to it's kind of like a military kind of style thing. You just do
Yeah.
it.
Who
So
was it the football player who went into beast mode? Was that Marshawn Lynch?
it was Marshawn Lynch. So I would call it like I had to go into beast mode. So I
Yeah.
had to do one massively big day. And then the last day was only 130 miles, which was
Only.
relatively short compared to some of the other days.
So to do that kind of mileage, you probably got a pretty lightweight bike. So talk to me about your setup.
Yeah. I have a 2022 Cervelo Aspero gravel bike. It's full carbon. It does
Oof.
not have any mounts on it. It has zero mounts. I did this trip super light. I did the whole bike packing setup where I had a 16.5 liter seat post bag off the back. I had a 4 liter frame pack. I had 3 water bottles, and then I had a 9 liter handlebar bag with a 3.5 liter accessory bag on the front. So I only took what I needed and nothing more. Ultra light tent, ultralight sleeping bag, ultralight pad, my clothing items, and that was it. I would keep some oatmeal on me and a camp stove, but I would restock food or eat out a lot. So I did it very, very light because I wanted to be sort of fast, I guess.
So, what was your plan for sleeping along the way? Just hotels, camping, wherever?
I'll tell you what, about 2 days before the trip, I signed up for warm showers. It
Uh
was
huh.
a $30. And I said, well, if I need this, I'll have it. But I used the Adventure Cycling Association. I bought the maps through them. So with Adventure Cycling Association for the Transamerica Trail, there's 12 map sections, and I needed 8 of the sections. And when you buy those maps, it gives you, uh, there's basically key points along the way where every morning or every night I would kind of look to see where I could get the next day. It tells you where campgrounds are, it tells you where hostels are, it tells you where grocery stores are, bike shops. So, and it gives you phone numbers. So if I was camping in a city park the next day, I could call and they would call me back and say, yeah, we have space, or yeah, you can stay here. And so I camped a lot. I think 16 or 17 nights camping, 3 warm showers host, and 2 hotels and a few hostels.
Okay. Yeah, the crew over at Adventure Cycling, they do a really good job of putting those maps together and really laying things out for the traveler. It's really good stuff. I'm glad you used them.
I did. It was fantastic. I couldn't have done it without that.
Did you have any reservations when you rolled out your driveway? Like, what am I getting myself into, or does this sound crazy?
I was a bit nervous. I know that I can ride big miles. I mean, I've done two dirty Kansas 200s, or I guess unbound 200 gravel
Hmm.
races. I've done all the big gravel races. I mean, I've done hard things, but I didn't know if I was capable of stacking that many days back to back to back to back. I knew it would be difficult. So I was a little bit nervous about that. Obviously, you're always nervous about the bike. I mean, you want your equipment to hold up. You know, you don't want to have mechanicals and stuff like that. But I was nervous. I was nervous, but I kind of settled in after the first day or two, and it was became fun. It became a blast.
Did you do any shakedown rides before just to make sure that you could break things? If you did, you're close to home.
Um, I did one shakeout ride with some buddies prior to the trip with the bike loaded down, and it was a 50-mile ride.
Okay. Curious, what did your family, your friends, or Kim think about when you were talking about this trip?
I think they thought that it sounded crazy. Obviously, they thought it sounded crazy. They're like, "What?" My dad asked me several times, "Are you going to bring a gun?" And I said, "No, I'm not going to bring a gun." You know, it's no, I don't. First of all, I don't like guns, but I think a lot of people were nervous
Yeah.
about something happening to me. Obviously, people are nervous about cars, and that's understandable. But I think people were more nervous about someone robbing me or hurting me in some way, like at a campsite or something.
Yeah.
But they thought it was crazy. But then once I got into it, I was posting a lot on social media, on Instagram. I was
Yeah.
posting on the stories, and every day I made a daily recap video that I posted on Instagram and YouTube, like a minute and a half video. And I think people really started to buy in. And my grandma, she was nervous for me, and then I think she enjoyed being able to see me in those videos and see what was happening, and she felt better about things.
Yeah. So people started seeing that along the way. Maybe they sort of relaxed a little bit and like, oh, hey, Tide's going to be okay, right?
Yeah, I think being able to show the videos and where I was and what I was doing, it definitely it eased people's minds, and people started to like. I couldn't believe it. It started to kind of take off amongst my friends, like high school friends and people I work with. Like I came back to work this year, and there was people that were watching that. I not not that we're not friends, but I don't talk to these people very much, or I'll say hi or whatever, but we're not super close. Like they started following, and it was pretty cool.
Do you think you inspired anybody else out there, any of your followers, your family, your friends to maybe do a crazy trip like this?
I've had a few students that I teach
Students.
and that I work with that are like, I want to do something like that one day. I've had
Yeah.
coworkers that tell me that they got their bikes out of the shed and they dusted them off and they were riding around with their kids. I had a guy that lives in Belton. I didn't know him before this trip. I was riding the other day with my buddy, and he yells out the window, and I was like, oh shoot, someone's yelling at us. Well, he was yelling, "Hey, I followed your whole trip to Oregon. It was amazing." And then he added me on Instagram, or I guess he messaged me on Instagram. He said, "Hey, that was me yelling. You taught my son years ago. I followed the whole trip. My son told me to follow, and he actually just bought a bike, and he wants to get into it, and he wants to get healthy, and he wants to start riding because of my videos." That's what he told me. And I had a few people that mentioned that they wanted to get bikes because of the trip.
Man, that
Which,
is the best gift. If you can inspire people to get on their bike and go and explore and do stuff that's maybe outside their comfort zone, like that feels amazing.
yeah, I that kind of makes the social media part of it all worth it. I wanted to. I'm not a big writer, so I didn't want to do like a blog, but I wanted to have a way to, uh, remember the trip, and having people tell me that I influenced them to want to get healthy and ride bikes, like, is just, yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Wow. And
Makes it all worth
so
it.
have you been, I don't know, have you tried to talk to more of your students on a more formal basis in your classroom? The people who maybe didn't follow you on Instagram or on social media, have you brought any of those kind of lessons into your classroom or to your athletes?
Uh, 100%. And, I posted a video during the trip on a story one day, and I was thinking about coaching and thinking about wrestling. And I know that a lot of our wrestling team was following the trip. And I simply said, once you've wrestled, everything else is easy. And, I got through that, and I can do this. If I can get through a wrestling practice and the season of wrestling, I can, pretty much do anything. And I think that seeing those kids that aren't athletes that followed the journey and that I have as students, I think doing something like this in a way gives me some sort of credibility. They know that I'm willing to do hard things. They know that I'm willing to push through. And I think it gives me another level of respect that maybe I didn't necessarily have before. Wow, this guy rode his bike fully self supported from Missouri to Oregon. Like, that's amazing. Um, so I don't know. Maybe I'm off there. Maybe not. But I think the kids that followed, they definitely, yeah, it resonates with them.
No, it makes total sense because whether they're your students or the athletes your coach, like they know that you're a tough guy. You've played college football. You've got the battle wounds to prove it. So they know that you're tough. But this is like a whole different level of tough that they can definitely look up to and respect.
Sure,
Wow.
sure.
Okay. So I talk a lot about what I call the human experience. So landscapes, food, culture, they're always amazing when we travel, but it's traveling by bike, as you know, that allows us these connections with people that we wouldn't ordinarily get if we traveled by a bus or a train or by a car. So talk to me about some people that you've met that maybe impacted you along the way.
Um, there was honestly countless people. There was countless people. I will say this, Jerry. I am a better human being now than I was before this trip.
Wow.
You know, when you are an educator, educators are good, people are good, but we deal with a lot of there is a lot of negativity, and that's in every job, in every career. And we get stuck in we get stuck in our little world, and you know the, what's going on with us right here in Kansas City, Missouri. And I think sometimes we forget that, like, there is a lot of wonderful people out there, and I work with some absolutely amazing people. But I think we lose trust. I mean, my dad, he was concerned, like, "Hey, are you carrying a gun?" My mom was concerned. What I learned from this trip is that people are inherently good. And I met so many wonderful people. I mean, you, for example, I didn't want to, put you out, and I needed a place to stay. And I rolled in, and you took my clothes and started my laundry. You said, "Hey, here's your room, get a shower." And I didn't want to eat your food, and I didn't want to, put you out. So I said, "Hey, I'm going to go get some food down in Breck." And you were making up a delicious dinner. And you're like, "Well, I've got some food if you want to eat." And I was like, "Well, yeah, that sounds amazing." And so we had the best, like, 2.5, 3 hour conversation, whatever it was, and had some delicious food. And that is what made this trip so special. And it wasn't just you. It was Molly, my Warm Showers host, in Sisters. It was the host I had in Missoula. It was the people that picked me up when I had a wheel blowout in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. It was the guys at the coffee shop in Du Bois, Wyoming, that helped me sort out a plan on how to get my new wheel set here.
Wow.
It was people that picked up my tab at a Mexican restaurant. It was I mean, it was countless people. It was hanging out in a bar in where was I? Jeffrey, Wyoming, a town of 30 people. And there's a hostel there and a bar. And the lady heard I was coming through, and she cooked me steak and potatoes. And I hung out and had beers with like real life cowboys that have been there since the 70s. Like these are things you can't make up. Getting a ride from Du Bois, Wyoming, from a guy who works at the Tetons Park, and getting a built-in tour guide, and he's taking me with my bike to the bike shop in Jackson to get my new wheels put on. Like the people made this trip. This
Yeah.
this trip this trip after like 4 or 5 days wasn't about riding my bike. It wasn't about camping. It was about the people along the way.
Yeah.
So
And think about that. If you were in a car driving through, you would have not even hesitated at that small town with that small hostel and that one bar. You would have kept on going. But
yes,
because you're on your bike, like, I'm going to stop here and have a bite to eat and see what's happening.
it was a wonderful experience. It was
Yeah.
it was the best. It was the best 26 days of my life.
Whoa.
I mean, I
That's
know
strong.
I've had a great life, and I love my life. I don't know, is that bad to say, but it was
No.
like it was like it was like a dream. I mean, it was a 26-day dream that it was hard, it was challenging, but it was so rewarding because of how hard it was and the people I met.
So do you think that there was like a specific moment along your ride where you felt your mindset shift in a life altering way?
Whenever I had a catastrophic failure on the bike. I had some wheels. They were good wheels. I was about 40 miles from Du Bois, Wyoming, and I had one bar on my phone of service,
Oh,
and I was worried about a spoke issue because I had a lot of weight on the bike. I actually brought extra spokes, but no, the whole wheel blew out of the sidewall. The rim blew out, like not fixable. Um, at that point, I was panicked. I got a ride from a couple from California. They put my bike in their camper. They put me in the car, and they took me to the boys. That's where they were headed. At that point, I kind of let it go. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen, and this was meant to be. This is going to add to the adventure. I get to hang out with these wonderful locals that have coffee every morning. At that point, I said, whatever happens was meant to happen, and it's an adventure at this point. You know what I mean? So that was
yeah.
probably the moment where I just kind of relaxed and said, "Hey, let's just ride bikes and have fun."
Yeah. You're going to figure it out. You're going to get through this. This is not the worst thing that could happen to you.
Sure,
It's going to be okay.
sure.
So, what did your family and friends think when you returned home and you shared your experiences with them? Did they think, like, wow, that sounds amazing and
They
that wasn't
thought
crazy after
they
all?
thought it sounded amazing. They were so like blown away. They couldn't believe I did it. And I said, guys, people do this trip. They've been doing this trip since 1976.
Sure.
You know, it was the bike centennial. There was 4,000 people that did some or all of the Transamerica Trail, and I said people do this. I said they don't do it usually as fast. There's some people that do,
Hmm?
but they wanted to hear about the stories and the adventures. Our old principal, who's now a superintendent in our school district, he caught me outside the weight room a couple weeks ago, and we sat out in the blazing hot sun. And he asked me all kinds of questions. We talked for like 10, 15 minutes, and he was just blown away. He wanted to hear about the experiences and the people and the food and the problems I had with the bike. He just was very interested. And it's not something people do every day. Hauling all your stuff and camping, and so it's interesting to people, I think.
But I think this stories like this are what people need to hear about the goodness, the kindness, the generosity, the empathy of people in a whole, because there's a lot of other negativity, as you mentioned, going around in the world, and we need good stories like this.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's interesting. I'm glad you didn't carry a gun. That makes me
Yeah.
feel a lot better.
Yes.
But it made me think of a story of mine. So I host a lot in Breckenridge, as you know. I hosted you, but the summer before you came through, I hosted a family, a dad and two kids, and I slept in my living room. And my dad was visiting from Michigan. He was the kindest guy in the world. He's 92. He's a Korean War veteran. He'd give somebody the last $5 in his wallet if it meant that he would starve that day. And so he's making friends. We're having dinner together and thinks it's the most amazing thing ever. But the next morning, the family is in the living room. They're waking up. And I talked to my dad. I was like, how'd you sleep last night? He's like, I didn't sleep at all. I was like, what do you mean? He said, I kept getting up in the middle of the night to check on them. I was like, oh, okay. It's like to make sure they weren't stealing things. I'm like, oh, Dad, no one's stealing things. Like people are, as you said, people are inherently good. And
Yeah.
again, it's just a different generation, maybe a different mindset. But I think the more we talk about these things, the more we share stories, the more we share a meal with people, realize to your point, like people are just people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are people, man.
Yeah.
And I, I was overtaken with emotions a few times on this trip. One day I was packing up near the beginning of the trip. I had a couple hard days. The first couple days, it was
Okay.
mentally tough, and I just started sobbing. When I went to the Adventure Cycling Association headquarters, and the lady started showing me around, I could not stop crying. She probably thought I was a weirdo, but I've been dreaming about this. I was so happy to be there, and this trip has I've I was a member of Adventure Cycling Association out of college. I got their magazines. Like I had the little card, like before GPS maps were even digital, like you had to buy the waterproof ones. And I had planned on doing this adventure and it never happened. And it was just so special to me to finally do this. And it was everything I thought it would be and more.
So, how do you think it's changed you? Like, it sounds like it's changed you a lot, but like, in what way?
Um, let's see. I think that I'll definitely, I'm always willing to help people, but I think now I'm even more willing to help someone in need. I've always been, I mean, I've always been the guy that, some people will get upset with this probably, but if I have a couple extra bucks and there's a homeless person on the side of the road, I'll give them a couple bucks.
Okay.
If a friend needs help or if somebody needs something, I'm quick to help, but I can't say I'm always quick to help random strangers. But now I think I would more so be, because what if I was in that situation? And I have been in that situation. And I think that it taught me to kind of let things be, let things happen. You can't control certain things, but you can control how you respond. So, I used to get really, really worked up about things. Like if I couldn't get a tubeless tire to seat, I would get mad. Or if I spilled expensive orange seal or something, like I would get like pissed. Now on this trip, I did such a better job. When that wheel explosion happened, there was nothing I could do.
Yeah.
I didn't lose my mind. I was anxious, obviously, but I didn't get mad. I didn't get angry. So I think I've become, this trip taught me to become more patient.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a feeling of surrender, right? Like there are things that you just can't control and you're gonna get through it.
Yep.
And I remember when I was a kid, another one of my dad's stories, when I would be feeling like woe is me or poor me, like this happened to me. And it's small stuff, right? But when you're a kid, it feels big. And he told me this lesson, like no matter how hard this may be, like someone else has got a lot harder than you. And so
Yes.
keep things in perspective. And so yeah, an exploding wheel in the middle of nowhere with one bar of service could feel a little bit anxious, but
Sure.
you're gonna get through it. People are
Sure.
good. Someone's gonna pick you up, and they did. And you
Hmm.
finished your trip, and it was amazing.
Yep. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I obviously that was stressful at the time, but I would not change that wheel explosion happening. I would
Yeah.
not change. I had a brake caliper issue that I had stuck in Missoula. I had to get another warm showers host. I was not supposed to stay in Missoula. So twice I had, your trip, your stop, I had kind of planned to stop there, but there was twice I needed warm showers host because of something that happened. One was the weather,
Yeah.
and one was I had a brake rudder row. It was a Sunday, and my rotor was rubbing, and there was something wrong with the pistons, so I had to get it fixed. I had to stay till the following Monday for the main mechanic to get to the shop. I wouldn't change anything about any of those stops.
Yeah. And look at the people you met and experiences you had as a result of those rather seemingly minor unfortunate occurrences.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was reentry like? Kind of, for 26, 27 days, your life is all about riding your bike. Then you get finished and it's okay, it's back to the grind, back to the classroom, back to back to coaching. What was that reentry like?
Um, there was a level, there was a sadness.
Yeah.
I mean, all you wake up in the morning, you have to pack your tent up, and I was bike packing, so everything was packed tight. You ride all day. You have to find food. You have to find power. If you can, you have to find at least water. I was taking water bottle showers the first 5 days because I didn't have a shower. You have to basically you're so busy. You have to set your tent up, and then you have to do everything the next day. So it's almost just like, oh, what now? Now I just have a hotel, and I just can take a shower here, and there was a level of like happiness to be done, and it was amazing what I just completed, but there was definitely a time of some sadness.
Sure.
um and but that's the beautiful thing of it, is now I get to plan the next bikepacking trip, and I get something
Yeah.
else to look forward to. But no, I was fine. I got to go to the lake for the fourth. Me and Kim got to explore the Oregon coast for about 4 or 5 days, and then fly home after I had my bike shipped home.
Yeah.
So yeah, now I get to plan the next trip.
And speaking of, is it something on the radars or what's on your hit list?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the Arkansas High Country route
Ah,
this fall at some point, the Northwest Loop. So it's only about 260 miles. So it'll probably be a 2 night kind of thing, three
yeah.
days of riding. So
Yeah.
that's going to be my next trip at some point this fall. And then at the end of school next year, after the last day of school, like I did this year, the plan is to start in the same spot, but on the Kansas side, and I'm going to ride from Kansas to Virginia and finish the Transamerica Trail
I
next
love
this
that
summer.
idea.
hmm
Yeah.
and then we'll see. But before I'm 40, I'm kind of wrestling, thinking about the idea of the Great Divide.
Ooh,
So
that's a
that would
good
be a big
one.
one, though.
Well, you know whose house sits along the Great Divide route.
I do. I know a guy.
Yeah. So when you roll through Breckenridge, look me up and
I
we'll
will.
have
Oh,
dinner.
100%.
That's a good route. So I think you'll probably want a different bike, as you know, because
Well, I
or maybe
think I
not.
want to stay. I have this bike. I don't know if you can see it. It's a 29 or mid fat that
Yeah.
would be a good bike for that.
Yeah.
I've considered that. It's a Trek Stash.
Oh, great.
And I've also considered putting on a suspension fork on my Cervelo, and I can run like a mountain bike tire up front. I
Okay.
just don't know. I know the Great Divide's a lot of gravel and some single track,
Yeah.
from what I've gathered.
Yep.
Um, I got to figure that out. I'm not
Yeah.
sure yet.
Yeah. I've seen people run it rigid, but from my personal experience, after a while riding on really chunky gravel roads, a little bit of give on the front end will save you a lot of energy.
Sure, there's like that fine balance of like comfort and speed kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's something I'll think about. I would probably want to go with a gravel bike with some like 2.2 wide tires.
Perfect.
And so there may be a new bike somewhere in the future before then. I don't know, because the trend for gravel bikes now, everything's going towards like being able to fit like a mountain bike tire.
It's basically a
That would be
drop
like
bar
perfect for
mountain
that.
bike, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I could take that bike. We'll see.
Would you ride or race it?
I would do what I did. I wouldn't necessarily race it, but
Okay.
I would go fast again. And
Okay.
everyone kept telling me on my trip, they said, slow down, enjoy it. And I'm like, yeah, I am enjoying it, but part of the enjoyment with cycling for me is it being hard. Like, I like to feel like smoked at the end of a day. Like, I
Yeah.
love that feeling of like, man, I am cooked. And so I got to have a good balance of like the rest days and meeting people, and I got to do a ton of cool stuff, but also suffer. And I really wanted to suffer, so I did that.
Yeah. I was going to ask, did you ever feel like you were going too fast and you wanted to slow things down?
Um, No, and I'll tell you this because I kind of wanted to. We go to the lake every year for the 4th of July.
Yeah.
I really wanted to see Kim. I mean, cycling is selfish. It's a selfish hobby, and especially taking a month, a 26-day bikepacking trip. That's a long time to be away. So I wanted to do that, but also have my summer with her because she's also a teacher. So I wanted
Ah,
us to be able to have the time on the Oregon coast. We had a wonderful time. We went and saw some of her family that lives there in Oregon. And I wanted to be able to go to the lake and see my family. I wanted to see my mom for her birthday. So I wanted to pack everything into this summer, and I was able to do that. So I think I did it perfectly.
I love it. So I want to sort of wrap things up with a little, I don't know, rapid fire travel questions. What do you think?
Sounds good.
Cool. So it's an easy one, but it's an important one. The first question here. Does your bike have a name?
It does not. No,
Dude, that's bad luck. It's like
I
going
know.
out
I
with an
gotta name it.
unchristened boat or something like that.
Yeah, I gotta name it.
That that's
Only one
that's
of my
probably why
bikes
your
does.
reel blew up, right? It's bad luck.
Okay, yeah, it's a good point. I'll think of a name.
Work on that.
All right.
Did you have a favorite city or state or maybe a place you'd like to return to, maybe spend some more time?
Yeah, my favorite place on the trip was hands down Du Bois, Wyoming, where I was
Okay.
delayed a day for the wheel blowout. That was my favorite place on the trip, hands down.
Why?
The people that I met there. So I had the blowout and I got the ride, and they have a wonderful little hostel there. Everything's in this downtown area. They call it the Valley of Warm Winds because once you climb out of the valley, you get up into the mountain, and then you get into Jackson, and it's
Yeah.
totally different. It's like they don't get much snow. It's kind of in a valley. It's just this little awesome town that is not really commercialized yet. And there was a hostel right there, and I was sitting outside, and I needed to find a plan. I needed to hash out a plan to get my new wheels or get to a bike shop because the bike shop there had closed. And I met these wonderful locals that have coffee every morning, and we basically became best friends. And those guys were just awesome. They brought me in and they took me in as one of their own,
Oh,
and I love that place. And I saw Anthony Robles there. He was an NCAA Division One wrestling champion from Arizona State who only has one leg. And there's a movie about him called Unstoppable on Prime. There's a Prime movie about him, and I'm walking down the road during my off day, waiting to figure out my plan. And he's eating, and I got a picture with him. He has one leg and Division One national champ. He was speaking to the Boys and Girls Club there, like random. So that was just a really special place for me.
I mean, look at how these seemingly random, do you believe in random or not, but seemingly random things happen and how they change the whole trajectory of your trip. Like you having a mechanical led you to this amazing experience that you probably would have just blown right through.
Oh yeah, I would have camped there, but then I would have ridden my way into Yellowstone the next day. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
stayed. I wouldn't have taken a rest day there. I was not planning on taking a rest day that early because I had, yeah.
Man, that is a great, great story. Uh, okay. Navigation. What do you use?
I used a Garmin 1040 Solar cycling computer.
Gotcha. I think you told me this earlier, but was there a particular day that was specifically challenging? I think you mentioned something about
Yes.
snow coming down a pass, which sounds
Yeah,
terrible.
I had two really tough days. One of them was I climbed up Willow Pass and I was near Walden. I was about 22 miles from Walden, Colorado, near the
Hmm.
Wyoming border. I came down a pass. It was Willow Pass. I had went through the Arapahoe National Forest with headwind and rain. I've been rained on for about 2 hours. I got up to the top of the pass and I got sleeted on and snowed on. Came down the pass. There was an old gentleman in his shop in Rand, Colorado, who has a wood burning stove, and it's an antique shop, beautiful shop. He was working outside on his fence, and I said, "Sir, can I come into your shop?" He goes, "Come on in." I got the wood burning stove going. He like added a couple logs to the wood burning stove. I got all my stuff off. I was freezing, couldn't feel my hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cold. And so I got warm, had some food. Then I made it 22 miles through more rain to Walden, and then the next day I made my way into Wyoming. So that was tough. But then there was the day in Oregon that was just as tough, if not tougher, where I had like 30-mile-an-hour wind gust in my face for 120 miles. I think I did
Oh,
that day. Climbed another pass, got rained on, sleeted on, like hard sleet. Came down, was freezing again. Those were two really tough days. But for every like really tough day, I had some hot days in Oregon, climbing out of Hell's Canyon.
yeah.
That was a hot day. But for every really tough day, there was like probably 4 or 5 like pretty awesome days, like beautiful and not bad.
Yeah. When you were enduring those rough days, were you ever just thinking to yourself, like, God, what am I doing? This is crazy.
I text Kim on the one day in Oregon, and I said, "I'm done with this. I never want to ride this bike again. I hate this. I want to be done." And she gave me a pep talk. She's like, "No, not many people can do what you're doing. You got this. You can do it." And I made
Yeah.
it through that day. And I was pretty down that day. I was pretty, just defeated. And I said to myself, Oregon, you may have won the first 3 quarters, but I'm winning the fourth. And
Yeah.
I got mentally tough after that. And I finished strong that day. And I said, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yeah, it's amazing. You clean up, you get a good night's sleep, some food in your stomach, and you wake up and yeah, you're ready for the next battle.
100%.
Let's see. Anything that you wish you had along the way, whether it's gear or parts or clothing, you had everything.
There is not a single item I would have left at home, and there
Okay,
is not a single item more I would have brought. I would,
man.
if I had to pack my bike, I would do it the exact same way. I used every piece of clothing I had multiple times on the trip. I never felt like I didn't have enough. And when it got really cold, there was that night in Walden, it got cold, but I was okay. I got a pretty good sleeping bag, a down bag.
Yeah.
But no, I had my setup was absolutely dialed.
Wow, that's amazing. Because usually someone will say like, I had all this space in my pannier, so I brought these extra things, and turned out I didn't really need them, and they offloaded them, or like, wow, I really wish I had a Gore-Tex jacket or something like that. But it sounds like you got it dialed, man.
Yeah, I did. I spent a lot of time in research. Yeah, and and I spent some money on getting. There was a few wool items. I had
Yeah.
a wool hoodie that I loved. I would wear that with a rain jacket when it got kind of more chilly. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't really even need a puffer jacket. I didn't bring a puffer jacket, and I don't
Okay.
regret not having one. I was
Okay.
good.
I was wondering about that. Even the snow and sleet, you're still fine.
I was okay. That wool hoodie was like packable, but really nice and warm.
Okay. How about this? What was your favorite snack food? Like, what do you carry with you? I know you said
Oh, good
oats.
question. So I people are probably going to be like, "What? Like Dollar General? That's just junk." But I mean, really, cycling fuel is a lot of just sugar.
Yeah.
So I would stop. I went through a lot of towns with Dollar Generals,
Yeah.
and I would buy those Belvita bars, but I would buy a lot of Rice Krispie treats. So the Rice Krispie
Really?
treat brand,
Yeah.
they're the home style with the big fat marshmallows. I would get those, and I had a little bag on my handlebars where I'd stuff all my snacks in, or if I had my cargo bibs on, I'd stuff them in there. And obviously, I would try to eat real food because it's just going to fuel you better. But just for like keeping carbs in your body, like I was smashing Rice Krispie treats.
That is about the simplest of simple sugars.
Yeah, and
Marshmallow,
I ate like probably 25 to 30 Rice Krispie treats.
not Snickers, Rice Krispie treats.
Rice Krispie treats. Yeah.
I will check on that one. I definitely grew up eating a lot of those. I never thought of those as endurance food, but that's
Yep.
an interesting one.
Yep.
And last one. Why should people do a trip like this?
Well, I guess the easy answer is the adventure. I know that may sound cliche. Is that the word? Like, oh, but the adventure. I mean, you don't know what's. People are like, how are you going to plan? How you? I said, I didn't plan. I said, I can't plan. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where. I'll kind of figure out where I could possibly sleep, each day. But every day, I just kind of had to figure it out. And I think the spontaneousness of that is what makes a bike packing trip so special. And you never know the people you're going to meet. Like you're going to be blown away by the people you meet, and the things you see. You get to ride your bike. I remember there'd be times where I just look around and these massive mountains and streams, and I'd have to like pinch myself like this. I can't believe I'm here right now doing this. It's amazing. It's amazing. And having to be self-sufficient, like what you have is what you have, and you got to
Yeah,
figure it out.
man. I love your attitude. I love your just zest for life. And I loved hanging out with you and talking to you after your long work day today. So thank you for making time for me. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate you having me. I love talking about the trip. So
Yeah. And I want to thank everyone else out there who's listening to my conversation today with Tyler Epstein. If you enjoy our show, give us a like on your social channels, or maybe just tell your friends. These stories hopefully will inspire you to set up on your own bicycle adventure and maybe make the world feel a little bit smaller, one pedal stroke at a time. Until then, keep the wheels rolling and the stories coming. Thanks for joining us on Bike Life. I'm Jerry Kopak, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as we enjoyed sharing it with you. Please leave us a rating and review, or just tell your friends. This helps us reach more cyclists and hosts around the world. To learn more or become part of this amazing community, visit us at Warmshowers.org or follow us on Instagram at Warmshowers_org. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or have a question you'd like us to explore, email us at podcast@warmshowers.org.